on this episode of the Modern Matriarch podcast. I just think, honestly, we need to make pregnancy cool again. It's the coolest thing that we women can go through.
It is the deepest, most profound, coolest thing in the world. I mean, to me, it is just the coolest thing. Like, now that I'm in it, I mean, I already thought it was so miraculous and incredible when I saw my friends or colleagues experience it. But experiencing it, like you said, being in limbo, in the medial state between maiden and mother, and holding all of these contradicting simultaneous truths, it's like, it's wild. That period of being in the middle, again, it's like, when do you get a chance to have one foot in and one foot out like that?
I'm Victoria, and you are listening to the Modern Matriarch podcast, a show about living unapologetically as a woman. Here we discuss the quiet things out loud without fear or political correctness. You deserve to feel alive deep in your soul through living authentically and finding deep fulfillment as a woman. You are listening to the first season of the Modern Matriarch podcast with our amazing return guest, Makenzie Chbeeb. If you are new here, Makenzie is an amazing woman, an incredibly gifted and professional dancer and choreographer, young entrepreneur, and very soon to be mama. I'm so excited to have her back on the show and for you to enjoy her heart and wisdom. This episode is inspired by both of our first pregnancies, mine not too long ago and Makenzie's current one, and we'll discuss deeply and open up with you what it's like to experience to be pregnant for the first time. This is such a special but mysterious time in our life, and there's so many things that's not discussed, and I'm so excited to share all of this with you in the conversation with Makenzie today. We discuss all the juicy pieces, all the things that's kind of taboo, but we open up and share this with you so you can be prepared, whether it's your first pregnancy or planning your second pregnancy. There's so much to unpack, and I can't wait for you to dive in. This conversation ended up being a lot longer than I expected, which is amazing because it was absolutely incredible. And this is why I decided to split this into 2 separate episodes. Part 2 will come right after this one, so be sure you tune in next time when part 2 comes out. I'm so excited for you to benefit from this rich conversation. All right, Sister Kenzie, welcome back to the Modern Matriarch podcast again. This is our 3rd show together. I am so happy to have you on, especially being in your super late pregnancy. We're doing it.
We're busy.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on. How are you feeling today? That's what I want to talk about, being in your late stage pregnancy, summer, hot LA, hair's up. Like, we're doing the thing now.
Skin is sticky. Okay, so I'm 35 weeks today, which you reminded me. So thank you for keeping me on track.
You forgot.
I did forget. I'm like, am I 36? Am I 35? Who am I? Where am I? I am feeling good, hot, and bothered and agitated in all the right ways that make me feel like I'm deep in my 3rd trimester. During the summer.
I love that.
It's so hot. I'm finding ways to I'm so sorry. I also am having intrusive thoughts at this point. And one that just came up was this morning. This is just actually the perfect way to introduce how I'm feeling in my 3rd trimester. So Philip and I, my husband, if you don't know my husband by now, by this third episode, you haven't really been listening because he's all I talk about on this podcast.
There's some catching up to do. Go back to the last episodes.
Get with it. So Philip and I were on our way to the farmer's market this morning to grab some snacks for today because I knew I was doing this with you, and you gotta keep me fed. So
gotta keep you fed.
I got so car sick on the way. Usually I drive, and at this point we're starting to switch, so he's driving a lot more, but I get so car sick, and so I started getting really agitated in the car, and then I was like trying to do some work stuff, you know, send out some emails before we get the day started because we were meeting some friends at the market. So I'm just starting to get like snippy, and he's starting to feel it. And so I'm like yelling at him on where to park, and getting frustrated. No. yelling. No, I'm just like, figure it out, you know, whatever. He eventually parks, we get out of the car, and I'm like, and it's so cute. He always does this thing where he'll hold out his hand like behind him whenever he's in front of me. And, you know, I'll always run and go get it. And so I'm like, me at this point in pregnancy, I'm like waddling over to like go grab his hand. And and what he's doing is he's trying to like soften me because he knows that I'm like showing layers of tension. And so he's like trying to soften me through cute little things. And so I go to hold his hand, and then I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to throw up. Oh God, I feel so sick. And I'm like, the heat, it's 9 a.m. and it's like already hot. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to throw up. It's so hot. I need water. And I'm like, I'm just venting and being annoying. And
you're unloading.
I'm unloading. And he's just quiet, holding out his hand, just allowing me to be annoying. And then all of a sudden, I just let out this huge burp, came from the bottom of my belly. And then everything was okay, as if like nothing could ever be wrong in the world. And I have never felt better in my life. And then I immediately switched. I'm like, oh my God, I feel amazing. This is so great. Oh, we're going to the market. I like completely turned around. And he's like, she just needed to burp. I'm like, he's literally just getting ready to raise 2 babies at once. Like, that's all it is.
Oh my God, you know what's crazy? Remember this? When baby's here, and if baby's super fussy, the chances is that he's going to need to burp.
Oh, we started talking about that after.
So serious.
We started talking about that after because I'm like, I was so uncomfortable for the last like 30 minutes. And the moment that I burped, I was like, oh my God, I can like go to sleep now. Like I feel so relaxed. As we were talking about that, we're like, okay, baby will probably feel the same way. But anyways, that was a really long and dramatic
it's a practice run
story of my morning of how
that's great though.
A morning of my pregnancy looks like. I don't know.
No, I think that makes so much sense. I remember, for context for you listeners, I am 4.5 months postpartum, and Makenzie is deep into her pregnancy, so we share this pregnancy very close to each other. And I went through the first trimester on my own, and then the second trimester on my own actually too. And Makenzie became pregnant when I was around 6 months or so, because we are 6 months apart in this whole journey. So we were able to share our trimester differences throughout, and we would send each other messages like, how are you feeling today? What are you feeling? Like, how is that going? How is that processing different than the last trimester? And I think it's such a cool topic that so many of us women don't really get to hear from a very candid perspective as first-time mamas, you know, before we become pregnant the first time or through the first pregnancy. And now, already being after pregnancy and having my baby, I look back and I know that my second pregnancy is not going to be at all like the first, because I already have this pattern, like this muscle memory of the whole experience, and a knowing of what happens at every stage. Of course, every pregnancy is different, but it's just going to feel all very familiar round 2. And I think round 1 is just so fascinating. Like, you sent me one of your messages recently on WhatsApp, because we can't stop talking to each other as usual.
Slightly obsessed.
You were sending me just a tiny bit. But when you were sending me this message, It's always fine. You were talking about how, this is gonna be the only time that you're gonna be a first-time pregnancy mama. And it's so true. Like, this never repeats itself again. You can have baby 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, however long you want to go with this, but the first time experience is very different, and there's so much curiosity, and there's just like wonder of what's gonna happen next. What does this mean? And it's like when you get closer to labor, you're like, what does it mean the mucus plug comes out? How does that look like? What does that feel like? Or it's like, how does it feel like to be in the third trimester and carry this really big belly in the summer and literally not caring if your boobs are hanging out because you just took off your bra, like all those feelings are just so unknown and exciting and new. Yeah. And I wanted to bring it to all of you to get this really raw experience from both of us, me being really fresh and Makenzie still being really in the thick of it. So thank you for joining us today in your sticky, hot summer third trimester.
I'm so excited.
I really appreciate you. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, I'm so excited. And honestly, like, I wish this is something that I would have had to listen to, because I didn't realize until I was in my first trimester how much I just had no idea of what to expect. Like, we've kind of have talked about this before, but it's like in the early stages of fertility or of trying, your only goal is just to get pregnant. And then when you do, you don't really want to look further than that, because you just, you don't want to get your hopes up and you don't want to get too attached. So, those first couple of weeks when you just find out, the first couple of months, you're really just trying to believe that it actually happened. And then once you believe that it happened, you're like, oh my God, there's so many things that I realize that we don't know about what to do. What do I do now? And what's interesting is so much of our advice, can come from our moms and come from a lot of the women that are older than us. But we live in such a different world now. We have so many different so much of it is obviously the same from a biological standpoint, but just the world that we're living in, the culture that we're living in, the access to data and information that we have, the algorithm that is getting shoved down our throats, it's overwhelming. And I'm excited to dig into this with you, because it's something that I wish that I would have had for myself in my first months of pregnancy. It would have been really nice to have something to lean on, to feel a little less overwhelmed and confused and uncertain about it all. Yeah, because we don't always just need, baby is this size, or now you should probably think about getting this test done, or you should start doing your registry. You need more than that. You need to really understand how this feels, and it's irrelevant. All of that feels irrelevant to me. I'm like, at this point, I don't care. I mean, not that I don't care, but like, it's not helpful for me to know that what fruit my baby is compared to.
In the beginning, it was a little bit, right?
Yeah. No, at the beginning, that's the first thing I did was download an app, because I'm like, oh, I need to know, what does baby look like? What's the, and you want to you're just trying to understand. But then, a couple months in, you're like, I feel terrible. How do I make myself feel better? And there's this whole world of nutrition and of movement and of and of education that we're just not. I mean, it's kind of the same thing like with our periods, that we're not, in our cycles, that a lot of women don't have access to or education on. That can actually make,
especially good old wisdom.
Yes, and it make the experience so much more peaceful and enjoyable, instead of this like aggravating, uncomfortable 9 months. It doesn't have to be that way, and I'm so happy that
no, absolutely not.
I don't know, I was able to learn that throughout this whole, and I'm still learning that throughout my whole pregnancy, is that there's a way to do this comfortably.
It's not that it's like a bed of roses, but it doesn't have to be a bed of roses for it to be amazing.
No.
It's just learning to navigate, learning from each other, being around other mamas, or just having the access to, previous generations, or just having, close sisterhood friends like what we have with each other, that really helps when we can share more than just the app. It's funny because when you were talking about the app, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I deleted all my apps in the third trimester. I deleted everything. Dude, I was like, I don't want to hear anything. Oh, that's you?
I don't care. That's literally
funny.
Me. It's why I don't even know what week I am, because I don't even care at this point. I'm like, I don't care what you think my symptoms are. I don't want to know. I don't want to hear about it.
What I should expect.
No, I don't want to know. It's so
just
funny.
Lean into it.
Yeah. Third trimester, though, that started. I think it's because the confidence starts.
Where you just wanted to tune out.
The confidence starts coming.
Yes.
In. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna let's start us that we go all beginning.
The beginning.
But before the beginning, let's just get I want to get one thing out of the way.
Okay.
And you tell me how you feel about this. Or maybe I'm gonna ask you the question and then I'll add what I feel, because I don't want to intrude with your thoughts.
Okay.
From everything that you've experienced in your entire life, all your life, major life experiences, and even though you have not given birth yet, but you're getting close, would you say that pregnancy has already been the most profound, mind-blowing, amazing, cool, freaking experience you've ever had in your life?
100%. Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Okay. Yeah.
There's no comparison.
Agree then.
There's nothing to compare it to. There's nothing I would ever want to compare it to. It's in its own category. It will go down as the most important part of my life.
That's amazing. And Makenzie is still pregnant. It's not like she's even gone through the portal yet fully, and baby's not here yet.
No.
And you're already feeling that. And the crazy thing is that once baby's earthside, that goes up by 1,000,000%.
Which that's what the insanity is for me to imagine at this point, because I already feel such a huge transformation from a spiritual standpoint and obviously a physical standpoint.
Yeah.
I cannot, and it's what we were just talking about, I will never know this feeling again that I'm feeling right now of not knowing who is he and who am I going to be when he's here. That's just what other
as a new
situation,
mama, right? As a first-time mama.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of life experience that offers you so much uncertainty at once that comes with such a beautiful amount of closure and excitement on the other end. Like you said, I'm feeling this now in pregnancy, but it doesn't even compare to the moment the baby arrives in his earth side. No, it's not to
it's not to negate it, that's not special. It's just crazy how when you go through this experience, how powerful and beautiful it is, and how so many of us women today don't even realize what we're missing out on if we don't allow ourselves to experience this. It's like you were talking a little bit about this. It's the app, it's the nutrition, it's the this, there's all these things, these opinions and these things online and all this information overload everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's so much more than that. It's so powerful to go through this, and it's so amazing. And, any woman that could have the honor of going through this pregnancy, this rite of passage, to literally be in limbo in that window between being maiden and mother, it's the most profound experience that I feel every woman deserves to know and experience, and to go through that as a first-time mama. There's nothing more powerful that's happened to me in my life, and I can't believe it, because I just wanted to become a mother. I wanted to be pregnant, but I didn't really. If I was telling JC that had I known what I was missing at the time that I was already so desperately trying to get pregnant, had I known what that actually is going to be like, I would have been even sadder that I'm not conceiving yet. I'm not able to, get pregnant, because it's such a powerful experience. Now that I'm on the other side, I actually know what I was missing until that point. I just think, honestly, we need to make pregnancy cool again. It's the coolest thing. that we women can go through.
It is the deepest, most profound, coolest thing in the world. And I want to make it cool. I mean, to me, it is just the coolest thing. Like, now that I'm in it, I mean, I already thought it was so miraculous and incredible when I saw my friends or colleagues experience it. But experiencing it, like you said, being in limbo, in the medial state between maiden and mother, and holding all of these contradicting simultaneous truths, it's like, it's wild. That period of being in the middle, again, it's like, when do you get a chance to have one foot in and one foot out like that? There's not a lot of moments, and it feels like this spiritual becoming that just feels imperative, personally to me, imperative to my human experience. Like, I would have regretted never putting myself in this situation. Like, if Philip and I never had children, I would regret not being able to experience this, because I am accessing a part of myself that is going to create just an even cooler version of myself that I cannot wait to meet. And already I feel that way.
Yeah.
And it's not even fulfilled entirely yet.
It's not fully in fruition yet, and you already feel incredible.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
I want women to love it like that. I want women to look forward to it in that way and be excited and not look at it as if it's a hindrance or a sacrifice. It feels like a power source. It's so unintuitive to how other people made it seem to be in my industry and in my work. It to me, it's like, where all of my power lies is in my ability to create life and have the potential to create it. Yeah. And accessing that makes me,
I mean, and the ability
invincible.
which, like, you can expand. Yes. And it allows you to expand and think of all the things that you've done and achieved and are working on even throughout this pregnancy. How you thought that you can handle things before, and now you can actually pull off, know, the extent of which you can actually go. It allows you to get there. The pregnancy just brings you there, and you're creating a life all along the way. It's amazing.
And it's interesting. It also allows me to let go in areas of my life that I was like choke holding. And that to me is like, oh my God, okay, I'm learning that I don't have to care about everything, that I just don't have the capacity. I don't have to care about everything. I don't have to stress about everything. There's a hierarchy of prioritization that pregnancy exposes, so that you can know what to care about. There's clarity on what to care about, so that you're not wasting energy and time and attention on the frivolous shit that, like, when you're just living for yourself, that's what you're consumed by. So I didn't expect that kind of clarity and relief in, like, where my attention is now. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love what I'm looking at. I love what I'm caring about. I like what I'm worried about. And then if I don't like what I'm
focusing on,
and then if I don't like what I'm worried about, it's so easy for me to be like, fuck that. I literally do not have the energy to do that, and I can easily justify pivoting and looking somewhere else. That is so cool to me. That is empowerment. That is purpose. That is pregnancy.
Yes. And that's accessing it. You can only access this through pregnancy, because there's nothing else in my life. And this is not to say that other life experiences aren't incredible. You know, obviously I would put it right up there with meeting my husband and our relationship experiences and all of that. But that is genuinely the preparation for this, for pregnancy, and watching ourselves transform, watching our amazing men transformed, and, you know, do this together. And the things that matter, our brains literally change through this process. And it's something that I feel like we just need to pass on this message to women, that this is the coolest freaking thing that you can ever do. And don't miss out on it. You know, don't Don't let the clock tick out on it. Don't regret it later. Because, you know, a lot of times we're like, oh yeah, well, I'll be fine with my cat. No, you will not. You will wish that you have done this.
Also, coming from two very serious dog moms that take their dogs' lives and livelihood very seriously. Very seriously. Yeah. If we're saying that having a human child is cool, then you can trust us, because we've played all the routes. We've done all the things. Yeah, we've done all the things. Yeah. And it is different. It is very different.
The single years. Yeah, it's not to say that one is worse than the other. It's just there's something about
it's just different. Being
a true woman. Yeah, it's really really powerful, and nothing can replace that.
Yeah,
and nothing ever will. Yeah. So let's dive into, what do you think about doing trimester by trimester and kind of digging into each one a bit? And I love it. If it was up to us, we'd probably create like a 10-hour podcast just on this, but we're going to try to keep it short.
As I'm snacking on my nuts. That sounded great. My Brazilian nuts right here. I'm sorry.
I love our conversations.
Okay, continue.
I'm having bananas because I gotta keep my milk supply going.
There you go.
And she's good. And she's snacking on nuts.
I need protein. I need my protein. Which actually, that takes me into first trimester. Why doesn't anyone tell anybody how much protein we need? I never knew how much protein I needed and how much I wasn't eating until I was pregnant. And I realized I don't eat protein. I'm not eating enough.
I have an answer. Yeah. I have an answer. Why? I don't know if you're going to like it.
I'm not. Probably not.
Well, it's just a speculation. It's just a speculation. I think that the war on protein in our culture today is so big. Mm-hmm. And it's so controversial because apparently humanity in the last 10 years has decided that we can go against our nature and eat vegetables and have enough nutrition. We'll get right back to the show. But first, I want to share something close to my heart. Are you tired of feeling overwhelmed by a million supplements with no results? Or are you struggling with unexplained infertility? Or maybe you've been told that IVF or IUI is your only option, leaving you feeling lost and hopeless? If so, you're not alone. I provide personal one-on-one coaching for women ready to take their health into their own hands. Whether you're facing fertility challenges or simply want to feel your healthiest and your best, I am here for you. I'm not a doctor or dietitian, and I don't plan on going that route. Instead, I am passionate about helping women clean up their health and mindset while unlocking the secrets to true wellness through ancient nutrition and ancestral wisdom. I want to share all the knowledge and wisdom I've gathered over many years and the very special steps I took in the last 3 years to finally become a mama just before my 43rd birthday. Together, we'll navigate our modern world with confidence, even when the cards of fertility and true health seem stacked against us. I've been where you are, feeling isolated and overwhelmed. That's why I'm honored and excited to support you on this special journey. With me, you will feel seen and safe to be yourself. Whether you need to cry it out, seek guidance, or simply want to thrive in your health. If you're ready to take that step toward empowerment and healing, schedule a coaching session with me no matter where you live. Follow the link in the show notes to connect with me, and let's create a brighter and healthier future together. And now, back to the show. because apparently humanity in the last 10 years has decided that we can go against our nature and eat vegetables and have enough nutrition, which we don't. It's like literally humans are saying, screw what our ancestors did, screw how God designed us, you know, whatever. All goes out the window. We're going to live on this diet because of these made up values instead of looking into detail. So now the topic of protein is so controversial that we are creating deficiencies all over the place. And it's actually, you know, that's going to go into a different episode that I'll talk about the nutrition aspect of fertility. But when you don't have your building blocks of life, protein, you are less fertile. Your ability to continue a pregnancy once you become pregnant is a lot more difficult, you know, all of that. So let's not talk about protein. And if we talk about protein, what our culture allows us to talk about is like, oh, the plant protein, you know? And I'm coming here from a place, of like almost, I'm talking to my younger self because I need to get this out the way. I was vegan for 8 years.
It's a
and
long
that's
time.
a whole other subject. And yes, and the things it did to my body is an episode on its own. But, you know, I understand where so many of us come from today about the fight on protein, because I was there. I was like, oh, you can get it from broccoli. You know, I was saying all those things that made no sense. And hindsight, after learning so much more, not just from a modern perspective, but going back historically, look into ancestral nutrition, I came to understand really quickly how protein is incredibly essential. Animal protein, specifically bioavailable animal protein for life. Not to survive. We're not looking to survive here. We are looking to thrive here. And we don't have to apologize for living a life where we thrive. So yes, when we come into the first trimester, you know, it's funny because you'll see a lot of those apps or whatever. Oh, eat your whole grains, eat your fruits and veggies. But nobody wants to talk about the tremendous amount of protein that you absolutely require to be able to make it through the first trimester. Just to make it through, because it's hard. You know, for those of us, you and me, who have been through the whole, you know, sickness, the nausea, and I don't know why they call it morning sickness, because it ain't not the morning.
It's perpetual.
it's not a perpetual. Morning thing. Yeah.
I just have to say that if it wasn't for this woman, if it wasn't for Victoria, I would have been so sick in my first trimester, and I actually avoided so many weeks of nausea because of you teaching me about the importance of protein. I had no other person in my life, no other resources that were focusing on the importance of protein. My midwives, eventually, when I met with my midwives and we started talking through nutrition, that became the important topic of conversation. But at that point, I had already really talked to you, and that was what you were telling me. You were like, you just need to get protein right now. Like, just focus on that. And my brain, I didn't even realize, like, all of my eating habits, what I would naturally gravitate towards was never protein. It was all really? Sugar. So like fruit and carbs, and carbs turn into sugar. So it was a lot of sugar, and not enough protein. And after that, Philip, which he's like, you know, super into protein, animal protein in general. We both eat meat, and we have always eaten meat. You can tell
on him, by the way.
Oh yeah, he's very, very strong. And he was like, he's like, I've always known this about you, that you never eat enough of your protein on the plate. But he's like, we're going to figure out a way to get protein into your diet now in a way that makes you feel comfortable. I never ate eggs before being pregnant. They always made me nauseous. They always made me sick.
Really?
It was really hard for me to eat eggs. I would always eat like a few bites, and then I'd be like, I can't do it. And then learning about literally like how important choline is, learning about, you know, certain supplementations that are just, you have to, you need to prioritize to have a really, you know, to help develop your growing baby once I
Yeah.
started learning about all those things,
Yes.
mostly from you, to be honest, it was all about figuring out, okay, first trimester was just like, how do I integrate this into my life now? Like, this is a new lifestyle. And it's the beginning of just like, how do I integrate protein into every day? And from the world that I come from, something Philip and I used to do all the time was intermittent fasting. I would wake up in the morning, I wouldn't eat until 2 or 3 p.m. And that actually worked for my body. I like that. I digest kind of slow. My metabolism's a little slower. So it would kind of, I liked what it was doing for me pre-pregnancy. You cannot do that when you're pregnant, as a lot of us know. I did not know that.
Of course not, yeah.
But I didn't realize that
Yeah.
in that first trimester, you're actually getting sick because you need food, which is so unintuitive because you just don't want to eat. And then the only
remember
thing,
you saying that.
And then the only thing you want to eat is like a piece of bread, but instead, or like a cracker. But then you get constipated, which is like a whole, and then that becomes a whole nother uncomfortable symptom that you're navigating, and that makes your first trimester shit. So something that helped me so much was when I was sick, well, one, trying to avoid the sickness, so eating every hour. I had to eat every hour, like on the clock. Taking away the grains and the carbs, and just making sure that I was getting protein.
Because people tell you that you should eat carbs. You know that, right?
Oh, no, I know.
Like, even on apps, they say eat carbs in the first trimester because it will take the nausea away, and it does the opposite.
No,
that's the crazy thing. I feel like the whole first trimester is not talked about properly.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
So you were eating carbs. I did make the same mistake. I was eating crackers in the morning when so you're saying that I gave you all this data because I made those mistakes and I figured things out. Yep. Some of the things my mom told me, but I made so many mistakes, and I was like, if I can do anything positive for Kenzie in this pregnancy is to tell her all the mistakes that I made so she doesn't repeat them, because you don't have to make those mistakes, but the knowledge is not properly out there.
I literally had no idea. I had no idea. And it's hard because at that point, I wanted to start reading all of these books, but you can't really read them fast enough to educate yourself when you're just sick and you need to start eating. You know what I mean? I grabbed the book, Eat Real Food in Pregnancy, or what is that called?
Real Food for Pregnancy.
Yes. Which is a wonderful book. And it's so dense.
But it's a lot.
And it's so informative. But I'm like, I needed to read this a year ago because now that I'm in this, like I'm already sick, and if I don't have the information in my head, so it really was having you, and then just knowing and like simplifying everything, and just being like, all I need is protein, and I need to eat every hour, and that's what I have to do. And when I did that, I actually felt better. I could actually go to work. I was actually functioning.
And less tired too, right?
Oh, less exhausted. I actually had some weird symptoms where I couldn't sleep in my first trimester, which was really weird because I know a lot of people are obviously...
At night or during the daytime?
In the morning. So like no matter what time I went to sleep, I would wake up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. Now in hindsight, that could have been a symptom of my early anemia that's like, I think, a symptom that you can get. But it was really interesting because I had the opposite, where I was like awake. I wasn't as sleepy as I was expecting. But yeah, protein is the answer.
Protein is the thing.
Yeah, throughout it all too. Like still up all the way until the end and after. It's like protein forever. And it's crazy. Like now I'm starting. It's
protein forever.
Protein forever. Now it's so funny. Philip and I are in this. It's just funny to see the way that our diet has now changed throughout my entire pregnancy, because it's really dictating what we eat and what he eats. Because he's just doing what I'm doing essentially. But the food has gotten so simple. Like. I'm no longer eating what sounds good or feels good, because I'm realizing how none of it is actually relevant to what my body needs. How it's
going to make you feel,
and how it's actually going to help baby. it's not going to help baby at all.
Yeah.
It's just like busy food that's not really doing anything appropriate or important to like help develop baby or my body. And it's really funny because like we always used to be, you know, almond milk and oat milk household, like the last like what 3-4 years,
Really?
until pregnancy, and now it's all like organic, full fat whole milk, and it's like we
That's
both
awesome.
missed it so much. And as we're drinking it, like I'm deprived. Like I can feel my body like wanting to chug it. Like
Yeah.
it misses like full fat animal product because we've been told that this like low fat plant,
Yeah.
you know,
cholesterol, blah, blah,
yeah,
blah.
all of that is not the
Eat
way.
the plants.
Yeah.
Eat the plants.
Yeah. But it's interesting how our
Sorry,
how our,
I can't help it.
Yeah. No, it's interesting though how our diet has actually become more simple in the sense that we're just getting, you know, really good, healthy versions of animal protein, getting a good amount of vegetables, and, you know, we're eating our fruit when we want.
And really nutrient dense. That's what you
Fats
really want is
are healthy
nutrient dense, because fats. Oh my gosh, do you know that I'm
Huge.
literally eating 3 tablespoons of butter per day intentionally. If I don't have enough in my food right now as a nursing mama,
Wow.
I literally cut a chunk of butter, grass-fed butter, and I just eat it
Wow. That's another level.
because baby needs it.
Yeah, but it makes so much sense.
Well, is this
Yeah.
is the food that you need, and it's actually satiating too, because when you're eating all the other stuff, the fluff, and you overload on carbs and starches and all of that, you're actually not meeting your nutritional level, and you stay hungry not in a normal way. It's like a different kind of hunger. But when you eat the animal proteins that you need, that's full of B vitamins, and it's all really bioavailable, the dairy, the calcium that it comes with, all that good stuff, you feel actually satiated. You know, it's crazy because the diet I'm eating right now, breastfeeding Alani, is so dense, so nutrient dense, that I'm probably eating a lot less than the most common nursing mama. Not because I want to, it's because I can't put anything else in there anymore because I'm so satisfied.
Yep.
You know, I sit down and I do like carne asada, and I just eat so much of it, the meat, and I have no carbs next to it, and I have like fruits after. I can eat a little bit of the fruits, but not a whole lot. But because I ate so much of the protein, I am not even hungry for anything else. I'm fully satisfied.
Well, and that's
It's really incredible. But it's so cool to hear how you guys change your diet for this.
oh, it's huge, and it like I said, it goes back to it's not intuitive eating, and that really confused me because I was always such an intuitive eater of using my mood or my emotions to dictate what I put in my body. But when you're sick and you don't want to eat, but you're like, I have to eat because I'm in my first trimester and baby's really
Otherwise I'll get
vulnerable.
sicker. Yeah.
And baby's really vulnerable right now, and baby needs nutrients, and they're taking everything from me, so I need something. You learn what your body needs and not what it wants, and that to me was such a it's such a cool shift that's happening. And a lot like what you said, what I'm realizing is even now, if I gravitate towards eating like more rice than I do protein in my meal, I notice 30 minutes later that I'm getting lightheaded, and I'm like, it's because you didn't eat protein. It's because you actually didn't get what your body needed. And it's amazing because throughout pregnancy your body is in direct communication with what it needs from you, and it tells you, it's constantly telling you what it needs. And you know, I just like that I've been willing to listen to it because it's teaching me so much about what it really needs and not what I think it wants.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. I think the nutrition aspect is so incredible because before pregnancy, you know, we're like, okay, this diet, that diet, that's how I want to eat. And this what sounds good, or this is the thing that makes me feel good. But that once you're pregnant, you've learned a simple truth, like you were saying, the simplicity of it, and how much power and deep nutrition there is in simple food, and how you don't even have a choice but to do it right. And if you don't, there will be consequences. All different kinds of consequences.
Yeah.
So prioritizing is really important, but that leads me a little bit into more of the stuff from the first trimester. And I want to get into the spiritual stuff too in a little bit. But the first trimester physical part of eating, I remember I was like, why did nobody tell me that I will despise spices, I will not want any flavorful food, really intense scent, and all those things. Everyone keeps talking about, oh, you'll have morning sickness. And you're like, wait, am I going to throw up? Oh, maybe, yeah. I didn't manage to throw up more than once, I think, which would have been better if I could. That would have been nice.
More relief.
But yeah, but what I realized is that I wish I knew to prepare better for the first trimester, and I will do that next time, is when we get into the mode that we're, working on baby number 2, I'll make sure before we even do that to start prepping for this, is simple, easy protein that's really easy to digest without any scent. That was the thing for me. If you gave me a piece of grilled chicken without any flavoring and it was cold from the fridge, don't heat it up because the house is going to smell. It's going to make me want to throw up. Just give it to me cold. I can eat it. Hard boil my eggs, keep it a little soft inside. I can eat it. I learned that later on more and more because poor JC, because I couldn't cook anymore, right? I couldn't be in the kitchen. I had to go to the other room and close the door. And he was making me this really nice meal with seasonings, and he put liver in it. It's a whole other topic, talk about the organs. Yes. Oh my God. The liver wasn't the problem. It was the seasonings and the scent that was coming off of the food. Yeah. It was so difficult to handle. And I think that a lot of women go through this. So if we can all prepare with powerful, simple, fragrance-free proteins, as stupid as it may sound, it will really next time I feel like it will set me up for success. So it's like really simple, cold cooked meats in the fridge. You can have hard-boiled eggs. Prepare yourself stuff in the freezer you can just defrost. And my really big, powerful one that I learned that changed the game, and I kept literally forcing Kenzie to do that. I think I was really mad at you one day for this, is kefir.
Oh, yeah.
When you have kefir, it changes your life because kefir is a complete food, which means it has the protein, the carbs, and the fats, good carbs, right? It's a balanced food, and it's fermented, full of probiotics, which we really, really need to keep regular during pregnancy and to feel better. And if you get, a plain version flavorless, it's flavorless. It just has a really intense, experience when you first have it. But once you get used to the kefir, you wake up in the morning, chug some kefir. Wait an hour, chug some kefir. I just kept drinking those bottles of kefir. And I wish I found that out sooner. Because I think by the time I figured that out, I was 13 weeks already. And I didn't know that I could have saved myself. So that's why when, you were going through the early sickness, I was like, get some kefir, damn it. You're going to feel so much better. That is such a simple protein to get into your system.
And it's the easiest thing to access, which to me is the most important thing in pregnancy, is making food easily accessible for you because you need it so often.
Yeah.
So simplifying your pantry, simplifying the process of cooking. Kefir is amazing because it's obviously, it's already in a bottle. You're just refrigerating it, and in the morning
you just drink it.
You just drink it. That saved my life. I'm still doing it to this day. Every morning. Yeah, it's my thing. But it really does help curb any, and especially when you're just not wanting to eat food, it also makes you, it feels like, okay, well, at least I'm just lining my stomach with something before I can think about, the eggs that I have to eat in an hour or whatever it is that you need to prepare for. It just gives you some time. And that to me was really necessary because, again, I was so used to not eating in the morning, used to avoiding food, so it was really hard to get the energy to cook. And even for Philip to then adjust and be like, I'm gonna cook now. Okay, yeah, I'll figure it out for you. The kefir was an incredible asset to my morning routine that gave me enough time and stability to figure out, okay, how can I prepare myself in the next hour so that I can feel good and continue this momentum of being as neutral as possible, because it really is just us trying to balance our blood sugar. That's where that nausea is coming from. And
exactly,
the protein and sustenance is the only answer to it.
Yeah, and get the full stuff. Like you talked about earlier, the whole fat milk. Don't leave the fats out. Fats are so important for the baby's development and for yourself, and to keep the blood sugar balanced. The low fat stuff, the fat free stuff is not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Get the whole fat, and you're gonna get that complete profile that you actually need to feel good and to also develop the baby properly in the same time. Because even though babies, like, you're like, what baby? You can't see anything, but baby's there, rapidly multiplying, taking everything possible from you to be able to grow. And why not give ourselves the best chance for our babies and for ourselves when we can fuel ourselves with real animal protein full of nutrition that's fully complete? And yeah, I don't even know how I figured out the kefir, because one day I just passed in the grocery store and I was like, I think I'm just gonna try this and see if it's gonna work. And it did.
It was huge.
And it was the best thing that I've done for myself, and then later on passing this on to you. And hopefully it's gonna help other soon-to-be mamas listening to this podcast, or maybe you're already pregnant and you're trying to figure things out. It really doesn't have to be as difficult as it can seem, or as it's made out to be. There's things that you can do to make things easier, and the most powerful thing you can do, honestly, is nutrition. Because no matter what, you can't supplement yourself out of a bad diet. You have to eat the real thing in the end. So that was like, I don't know if there's any other things food-wise besides like really clean, simple proteins. I did eat fruit. I had actually certain fruit cravings, and I feel like baby needed certain, vitamin C. You had that too?
You know what?
Clean proteins, the kefir helped a ton.
I craved so much vitamin C early in my pregnancy. I wish I would have allowed myself to indulge in what my body was telling me that it did want, because obviously you're having so many food aversions. But I was almost afraid to have so much vitamin C because it was a lot of citrusy food, and I was like, oh, I might get heartburn or something like that. So I was actually I was confused at why I was wanting so much of it, but my body actually needed it, and I wish I would have leaned in a little bit more. I think it's also because I was, I was deficient in iron, and my body can't absorb iron without vitamin C. So I wish that I just didn't know any of that early on. So I think it was my body being like, hey, you need this in order to absorb the thing that you're deficient in. But I was so worried also to eat only fruit and like citrus because of the blood sugar. Again, it's just overwhelming. You don't know really what you're doing. And so I was really trying to prioritize as much protein as possible, but my body wanted blueberries and oranges. That's like all it wanted.
Oh, those are the things. Why didn't you tell me?
I can't remember.
Honestly, there is...
Because I was perpetually nauseous.
We talk about everything. Yeah, you were. Like, this is me literally like contacting Makenzie on WhatsApp. We're like, hey, just give me a thumbs up if you're okay.
That was literally like 6 weeks to like emoji. 14 weeks. I'm like, still alive.
Still alive. Barely, yeah, barely. Like half passed out on the bed. But honestly, like, blueberries will never cause heartburn. It's a very low sugar fruit, and it's really powerful. And I really feel, based on everything that I've learned over time and just listening to my own intuition, is that vitamin C, and in berry format especially, cannot do you any harm. You can overload it. It's a really good source of fiber too. Keeps us regular, because you need to really focus on staying regular when you're pregnant. It's not like a regular, a regular bowel cycle. When you're pregnant, it's all very different down there. So you want to focus on the fiber content, and berries are completely fine. Oranges, the heartburn, honestly, I think kicks in a bit later. Yeah. For those of us with really tiny torsos, especially because everything is pressing more upwards. But I don't think early pregnancy that would have been a problem. I had everything in the first trimester. All I wanted was fruit.
Me too.
It's okay.
Me too. My body wanted that too. I wanted cold fruit. That's all it wanted. I wish I just would have leaned in a little bit more.
Yeah, and it's okay to have the fruit.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get right back to the show. But first, let's briefly talk about something very important. So many women today have no idea about the toxic poisons hidden in our everyday products we use, like laundry detergent, deodorant, makeup, shampoo, conditioner, toothpaste, moisturizers, sunscreen, and so much more. These harmful ingredients negatively affect our health, hormones, and yes, our fertility. Hidden toxins in our everyday use products directly impact our ability to conceive, have a healthy pregnancy, and birth a healthy baby. One of the most critical steps I took on my journey to optimize my fertility and heal, and to have a healthy pregnancy, was swapping out these toxic products for safe and non-toxic alternatives. That's why I love the Wellness Box. I shop from a selection of over 500 truly safe, non-toxic products that I trust for my family, and it gets delivered right to my door. Plus, it's more affordable than shopping at places like Target, Whole Foods, or Walmart. Every product is manufactured in-house right here in the USA by a private company that ensures true quality, safety, and nature-friendly products. Follow the link in the show notes of this episode to learn more about where I shop, so you can get your own wellness box filled with healthy, non-toxic products shipped right to your door. And now, back to the show. Yeah, I mean, goes back to what I was saying earlier, is that our culture created this just really horrible relationship with food, and this diet and that diet, this is bad for you, that's good for you, and the science changes every other day. It's insane, like, what we need to keep up with. And then once we go into this state of being pregnant, we don't even know what we should be doing, and we're trying to figure things out, and we carry guilt with our food. There's so much that we have to unlearn and reprocess when we go into the first trimester, especially. That it all makes sense. But I am very confident that Babe got everything that Babe needed from you in the first trimester. I think you did amazing. You had a hard time, but I feel like tough. You powered through.
It was tough, but honestly, the food aspect was such an important was the most important component that allowed me to feel like I didn't only survive it, like I started to thrive towards the end of the first trimester once I got a handle on just prioritizing food and realizing, like, this is all I can care about right now. Like, I can't, it was kind of the thing I was talking about earlier. It was like, I can't care about what I used, like all these other things. I just have to worry about what am I putting in my body today. And if that gets done, then I can be really happy with the day. And I got everything that I needed out of the day, you know?
So pregnant mom Makenzie today, that's 9 months, close to 9 months now. What would you take away from the first trimester that you are going to do differently for the first trimester, food-wise, since we're talking about food, to make things a lot easier for yourself? Because we always learn from our journeys. That's the whole point.
Oh man, I would say preparing, not even entirely food prepping, because I know that isn't always super realistic and sustainable for some people, especially my own life. My life is not very regimented in the sense that, like, every day looks different because, you know, my husband and I are both freelance artists. So we don't have a very regimented life. It's very go with the flow, which can be really hard in pregnancy because you have to create some sort of regimen, especially when it comes to eating and when it comes to resting, that I just didn't practice before. So something that I would do in my next pregnancy for first trimester I would at least prepare breakfast for the week ahead. And I would just at least prioritize like a breakfast prep so that I can at least get my day started on the right foot, not feeling as nauseous, and at least getting my blood sugar balanced so that I can feel neutral going into the day and a little bit more clear on what I need in the next couple of hours. So I think just a simple morning food prep would have really helped. And I also really like what you said about having easy to grab protein snacks or cooked protein that is fragrant free and simple, that you can just put in your mouth whenever you're starting to feel a little lightheaded. So you can just immediately curb it. And it's really crazy how immediately better you feel when you put the right thing in your body. So just having access to the right things, so that way you're not resorting to the sugar or the protein bar that isn't actually gonna, like you said, give your body what it needs to feel like it can survive the rest of the day.
It feels satiated. Yeah, it feels good. It feels strong. Because all the other empty stuff, it's not going to fuel you. It's just going to make you more nauseous. Yeah. And that's, at least in my experience. But if you give it the right things, and, you know, I'm actually super excited for my next pregnancy, because I want to do all those things, right? I love the idea of having a prepared breakfast. I think that's so helpful. Another thing I just thought about, I'm probably going to hard boil eggs for, I don't know, for 3 days and keep it in the fridge.
Hard boiled eggs.
I don't like it super hard boiled, but like soft.
Were the best for me. That was like the best. And like I said, I didn't eat a lot of eggs pre-pregnancy, but that still, deep into pregnancy, like hard-boiled eggs are the best, easiest thing for me to put in my mouth and make me feel like, okay, I'm not getting sick, I'm not feeling weird, I'm feeling it like grounds me and makes me feel in my body and strong.
That's awesome. Yeah, because when you eat it cold, like from the fridge, it doesn't come with the scent, it doesn't come with the extra stuff. It's just this easy cold meal that when it gets close to your nose, you can't really smell it. That's the whole thing. Anything that comes close to your nose and it's fragrant. You know, even though it's crazy, I had this really great natural cleaning product with a little bit of essential oil in it that I've always loved. First trimester hit, that had to go out the window. I couldn't even stand that scent, like a simple essential oil cleaner. Yeah. You know, we're all a little different, but the whole thing, if you can keep your house fragrance free as much as possible, food-wise and otherwise, you'll just expose yourself less to the chance of feeling sick. But yeah, eggs, a breakfast ready, I love that. I think maybe pre-grilling and having ready cold chicken or whatever in the freezer, maybe some cold cuts, right? Like different cold foods, and then grabbing and putting in the fridge. I think I would do that too. And not being afraid of the fruits. I was also afraid of the fruits in the very beginning. I think that that would really help. And cold drinks, if you can, if it's like not too cold outside. I think like the cold milk, like a cold chocolate milk or a whole milk would be probably really good too.
Cold chocolate milk in my first trimester. It's so funny that you bring that up specifically.
Oh, you did too?
I loved, there was one point where I was getting really sick, and I remember it was like the first couple of weeks that I was with my midwife, and so they were getting to know me. They wanted to do this like nutritional review on like what I've been eating, so they have an idea of you know, where I'm at. And there was one meal where all I could eat was pretzels, and it was like gluten-free pretzels because I'm gluten intolerant.
I remember that.
And chocolate milk. She was like, "This is the cutest like little toddler snack that I've ever seen a grown woman eat." And I was like, "It's just all I could do right now." She's like, "We need to get more protein in." And I was like, "Okay, fair enough." But chocolate milk, man, it just hit the spot. Cold.
It's good stuff. Yeah,
it's good.
Cold. Yeah, it doesn't. Again, there's no fragrance. It makes a huge difference when foods are cold. Yeah. But chocolate milk is a great nutritional food, though. You have you have that complete profile of protein, fats, and carbs, good quality carbs. I mean, just adding a couple of cold milk cups per day really bumps up your nutritional value for the day. Yeah. And adding collagen. Collagen is great too. Collagen powder.
You have to tell everybody your hot chocolate recipe, your morning hot chocolate recipe that JC makes for you.
Oh, today. Yeah. So JC still makes me hot chocolate every single day. Treats me like a postpartum mama.
Shit,
even though it's been a while. It's the best. He started it in pregnancy and is continuing like this whole time still. But now I'm actually having goat's milk because I can't source good quality cow milk that I feel comfortable with. So I'm having goat's milk, but we do that and he makes it for me, raw, pure, clean cacao. And then he adds collagen powder and lately a chunk of butter in it. And he mixes it and brings it to my bed when I'm nursing Avani in the morning. It's the best thing ever. And I've played with it a little bit, you know, over the course of my pregnancy when I was still making it for myself. Like I would drop in a raw egg yolk in it and mix it up. I've done for the extra choline, right? You don't want to do the egg white raw. The egg yolk is better raw. And then also I would sometimes add the bee pollen granules to it. It's just a powerhouse of nutrition. That I had even preconception and in early pregnancy. I had a lot of it, and now I'm starting to add it again too, because I was a little turned off for some reason through pregnancy, the end of pregnancy. And I listen to my body when my body goes like, oh, this is weird. I just don't eat it right now. You know, I don't want it if it's not essential like protein. But yeah, it's just, you can play with it so much with these chocolate drinks. And I feel so lucky and so blessed that JC still does this today, you know. At one point I started feeling a little guilty, you know. I was like, you don't have to do this anymore. He's like, I want to. You know, and it's like every single day. That's
Beyond.
He is. He's an amazing husband and such a great papa, and he still treats me like I'm in postpartum, and our baby's like crawling. which is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that really helps. So that's like from a nutrition standpoint, I think that I would also do differently. But let's jump in a little bit into the mental and spiritual side of that first trimester. I think that, you know, we both have to kind of dig back a little bit because we're both in such different states now mentally. The first thing that I could start off, and I would love for you to expand, is when you first find out that you're pregnant, there's an instant excitement, but I think it's natural for everybody. I'm not sure, but for me, it was this instant feeling of vulnerability where I felt so fragile and needing to protect little babe in this, you know, super fragile state and early time of pregnancy, that my mind and everything along with it just went into this, I really kind of went inwards. That's the best way to describe it. Deeply inwards to process all of it and being full of gratitude and also calling on new spiritual sides and new places that I've not accessed before. Because after I realized that I was pregnant, it just felt like this time was going to be different. But I felt like it wasn't just about me anymore. And that made me feel really vulnerable for some reason when the pregnancy first began. But it also gave me that power to really understand that it's not in my hands, really. You know, I can do everything I think I can do right, but in the same time, there's something way greater at play here. So I'm curious what that felt like to you, like the very beginning stages. You get that positive pregnancy, you're like, oh my God, like I'm pregnant. The test is there, right? Like what, after all that's processed,
God,
what goes on in your mind?
You explained that so beautifully. Oh my gosh. There was so much chaos not even leading up, just our life at the time of waiting to see if we were pregnant was so chaotic. We had just moved into an Airbnb in North Hollywood. We were still weeks away from opening a business that we thought we were going to be opening, you know, way earlier than we wanted. So we were still really deep into like physically renovating a space ourselves. And so there was so much external chaos happening at that time, and so much feeling like I don't know where I belong because I didn't have a physical home, that the moment that I found out, oh my God, it's gonna make me emotional. It was the feeling of home in my body for the first time that I just had never experienced before. And it was exactly what you said. It felt like this coming in, this want to go inward towards myself. And that's where I felt the most safe, because of how vulnerable the next 9 months were going to be. I felt this, this knowing that like this will not be easy. So now let's go in. Also, Philip wasn't around when I found out. He was in China, so we were apart.
I remember that.
We were apart when we found out, and there was just so much chaos around us that it wasn't until he came home and we were like together in person that we were like, this is the greatest thing to ever happen to us. And it makes so much sense, even though it doesn't make any sense with how our life is looking right now. But for some reason, this just makes sense. And I couldn't believe that that's how we felt when I look back on it now, because life was so, we had no idea what we were doing. We didn't know where we were going to live. We really didn't have plans, but knowing that we could look forward to the potential of this gave us so much hope that we hadn't felt in maybe a couple years. So it was a really important moment, that I don't think we ever could have planned for or would have known that that's the thing that we needed. And it was weird because in that moment, like you said, it's so vulnerable because you don't know how long it's going to last. You're like, are you going to be here this whole, like, are you going to make it? Are we going to
stay?
Is this going to be, are we going to be okay? Can I indulge this like feeling of love already? And my body just wanted to, so early on, it just wanted to indulge in the idea of this, and it wanted so badly for it to last. And it's so vulnerable, that feeling, because you're feeling all this hope.
Yeah.
You're feeling, you can't help but
excitement, the love.
You can't help it. And I think it's so beautiful, either way, whatever which way it goes. I think it's so beautiful to feel the capacity to care about something that much, without it even being like what a human looks like. Like it's just the idea and the essence,
tiny little being
of something that changes everything all at once.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that. One of the videos I'll never forget. I love your little clips of you and Philip, but there's one clip of you and him FaceTiming when he was still in China. Yeah. And that's when you told him, and his reaction is the most beautiful, priceless papa reaction I have ever seen. The way so he's just cute. Like, he's smiling and laughing, and he puts his head down, and he's like, I wish everyone could see it. Because it's such a special moment where he's like, this is it. Like, yeah,
he's like, here we go.
Even though it's so not, it's like so not obvious, right? But it's like, it is it. You know, it was such a beautiful thing to see you guys kind of have a North Star and set your compass immediately for your next stage of your life.
Immediately, and we needed it. Like we needed it. We were so lost and not lost, like we were doing stuff, but there was this sense we were missing
purpose.
on purpose. We were doing so much, but for what? Yeah. We already did it for ourselves.
Yeah,
we already did it for the house.
We all work. We
already did it for the money. We've played those games, but this year felt different. We wanted another reason to do all of it for, and the moment that he came to us, it was like, that's what this is for. That's why we sold our house. That's why we started a business. That's why we're deciding to not live anywhere right now. It's so that we can open up the potential for what this child needs and what our future family needs. And we needed to reset. It wasn't supposed to look like what it did before, because that was for something else. This is for him now. And how is that going to change what our life looks like? And boy, has it changed. Our entire life, our entire lifestyle, like I don't even recognize who we are. And it's all because of this child, 100% attributed to him coming to us and choosing us as his parents. He has changed the entire trajectory of the rest of our life for the better.
Yeah.
In a way we would have never been able to do alone. That's how I feel. I'm like, we feel so lucky that he chose us. You know,
Yeah, he chose really, really good. I mean, I cannot imagine better parents. I'm so excited for you guys, and I'm selfishly excited for myself, because I get to witness you two being parents. You know, I get to witness you being a mama. Like, it's I get to just relish in all the love and all the excitement and your birth. And, I can't wait to meet him. I feel like I know him through you already.
Isn't that wild?
He's such a special little boy.
Isn't that wild how you can... I felt the same thing with Avani through you.
You did.
When you're witnessing someone's process of growing a human... and they're sharing with
that deeply
the intimate details of the experience, and you're sharing like the evolution of her essence and of you recognizing who she is, because in first trimester it's just assumption. You don't know. It's again, you're just trying to kind of conceptualize the idea of being pregnant, and you don't want to be too attached yet. You want to have a little bit of,
you're afraid of it.
Yeah, you want to be a little bit ready for worst case scenario. But then the more that you just like surrender to the pregnancy, their little essence and spirit comes forward, and then you feel like you know them. And it is so special to witness your friends in that state, to feel the essence of their child, and then now to see you holding Avani. And the way that she looks, like, we didn't know what she looked like when she was in your belly. We had no idea who she was going to be. And now we just get to experience her unraveling. And it's the coolest shit in the world. I'm like, nothing else matters. I don't care about anything else. It's crazy that,
like, we can, like, love each other's babies to this level, too. I think this is amazing. Like, I have so much love for your baby boy already. Like, I would do anything for him. And he's not even here yet. And the crazy thing is that whenever Avani sees you, because, we've never met in real life, for listeners that don't know about this, but Avani sees Kenzie on the screen and she goes wild. She knows her. Like, she knows Makenzie.
It's really weird how we recognize each other. The recognition feels like very deep. Yeah. It's so interesting. It's so crazy. I can't wait to hold her.
Like, she actually wants to go through the screen. She's so cute. And you know what? I really wonder, because I spent so much of my time through my pregnancy listening to your voice and talking to each other. And she probably heard all of that in my belly. Like, she knows JC's voice really, really well, but she knows yours. You're literally the second voice in our house.
Yeah, same.
Which is amazing.
We listen to each other's 30 minutes of audio. So I'm sure he already knows who you are. He's gonna know who you are when he meets you. It's so cool. I love the idea of that.
I'm gonna smush him. I can't wait.
Yeah, his cheeks.
I can't wait to meet your baby. His cheeks. 6 months apart. That's all they're gonna be. I think that's so crazy. That's insane. It's wild. But yeah, he chose amazing parents, and I get to watch all of it unfold, and it's so beautiful. And that first trimester is like that time where you just none of it feels that real. It just feels vulnerable instead, but exciting, because now you're shifting that direction. And I'm also really curious, you know, has this pregnancy, and especially early pregnancy, has it changed anything for you and Philip from a spiritual standpoint compared to before?
Yeah, I actually think it's probably really hard to verbally extract exactly what has changed, because it's so deeply personal and hard to translate to words, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, from the moment that we found out that I was pregnant, watching him immediately shift. And again, it was this clarity of, this is what I'm doing everything for. Like, seeing that shift in him was so relieving for me, because I felt like...
In Philip.
Yeah, in Philip. Because I felt like I could surrender to the overwhelm and fatigue of those first couple of weeks and the first month that you're just like trying to understand what's happening. And in that time, seeing his spirit have so much clarity of why it's going through the chaos that we were going through. Because like I said, our life was just up in flames. All of that had meaning for the first time. And then something that was really really something I wasn't how do I explain, something that isn't like us, that I think is showing some sort of like spiritual shift, is our want and our pursuit for peace, where I think before our pursuit for challenge and discomfort was so high. And I think this child has actually inspired us to look for more peace and pace. And before, that wasn't what interested us as a couple. And I think moving into parenthood, pacing and peace has been more prioritized from a spiritual standpoint for both of us in a way that I haven't really noticed before.
We'll get right back to the show. But first, I want to share something close to my heart. As a new mama, my passion lies in creating a life filled with family, fulfillment, and the freedom to pursue my dreams. More than ever, having diverse income streams is essential, especially as we navigate the beautiful journey of motherhood and family. Building a flexible business that aligns with my values has been a true blessing. It allows me to prioritize my family and put in as much as I can in my available time. I've seen firsthand how this business has transformed not just my life, but the lives of so many others who yearn for that same balance. If you're curious about how I'm designing a life that enables me to be fully present with my loved ones while generating income from home, I would love to hear from you. Follow the link in the show notes to reach out, and let's explore how we can create your version of freedom together. And now, back to the show. That's a massive and beautiful shift.
Yeah.
And also imperative for starting a family. That's a really big, really big shift.
It's huge.
Because for JC and I, it was a little different, because I felt before, when I had my miscarriages and going through the fertility journey, I was so hell-bent and believed that I could fix myself. I could do this. I am capable of doing anything that I want. And it was all about what I can figure out to fix things.
Keeping you in control too.
Once, yeah, I'm in control, right? But once we actually conceived, and it was funny because we actually conceived when I let go, when I stopped controlling the process and I stopped thinking that I can do everything. And it was funny because we both listened to the same book called Awakening Fertility. That's incredibly powerful. I highly recommend it for any woman to reset their minds. Actually, JC and I listened to it on audiobook. It was such a powerful book because it really gave me the perspective, hey, Victoria, you don't really matter that much in the picture here. It's so much greater than just you yourself. You know, you're bringing in another soul into this world. You are continuing the next generation. Your husband is equally important. This is not just about you. And I really let go of all because, you know, my control, you already know how I am. I'm a very, you know, I can do a lot of things, but that actually hurt me in the process. And then once we let go and I was really focusing on ancestral nutrition and I really left it up to God, to the universe, to whatever people want to refer to today, but to a divine power that's just beyond me, that I'm just going to be woman, true to myself, eat correctly, stop taking the million supplements I was taking before to control every aspect of my fertility. We conceived within a month of trying. It was crazy. I stopped counting. I stopped doing all that stuff. So then once we conceived, it was crazy because it was only 8 days after my so-called mid-cycle.
Yeah.
I already knew that I was pregnant. I was only 21 days into my cycle. I knew that I was pregnant. And I took the test. I was like, I know it. I'm pregnant. And it was there super early. Wow. And I knew something about this time that it's not going to be a miscarriage. I think I even told you that.
Yep, I remember.
And at that point, I was like, I am just going to let it go. I'm not going to try to control to keep her. I didn't even know she was a girl, obviously. Yeah. I'm not going to try to control anything. I'm going to leave it up to the divine powers, my ancestors, my future, whatever holds for me, to let this go the right way. And I let go even deeper than before. And that was a big spiritual shift and growth for me because I was so used to controlling everything in the past and thinking that that's the way things work out, but it wasn't the case. So it was a really so humbling powerful. Experience. And the so funny thing is that I was raised really religious, and the whole concept of religion and prayer and all of that was so deeply self-shunned for years. I didn't even want to address it. But throughout my pregnancy and even early pregnancy, I found myself in these moments of conscious prayer without words to where it had to go. But I didn't even want to put an entity. I didn't even want to say necessarily God. You know, we could refer to it as God, and I'm not afraid of using that word, you know, because there is a divine energy that's undeniable. But, you know, all of us are fighting on what we're supposed to call that divine energy and the divine being or whatever it is. But I found myself in these moments of prayer that were so not like me, you know, for all those years, if that makes any sense. And it was something I couldn't even control. It was just this natural, like, you know, if this is meant to be, help me do the right thing, you know, help me navigate this properly, help me give this baby everything it needs, you know. And I haven't, you know, this is the first time I talk about this, actually, that it just opened a side of me that I've even been afraid to look at in the past. And it's still carrying me today. It's crazy. I'm changed, and all that happened because of our first baby, because of Avani. Yeah. And I know it's not something that's okay to talk about these days anymore, because the more, you know, scientific we are, or so-called modern science, or the more we step away from religion. I mean, the more we step away from religion, the more we step away from God and old ways. It's like, oh, we are smarter and we're better. But I think we are all seeing that that's not the case. And I feel for my personal journey, it was really important for me to grow back into a newfound spirituality that I can lean into slowly and start opening up and not being afraid of it just because my past relationship with God and religion was downright awful through my upbringing. So I guess I just wanted to share this and get this off my chest a little bit, because it's been a bit of my own mystery and secret that I've kept for a little while now.
It's so powerful. And I really do think that like everything that you just shared is such a beautiful example of what the first trimester can bring to you if you're willing to surrender to the deep uncertainty of pregnancy, of what you're about to go through, and your ability to just, like you said, like let go was the conduit for fertility, and was the conduit to you being able to have your body in a state that could sustain life. Was in this flow state of allowing things to happen. And I think when you are willing to go into uncertainty like that, the most important thing is having some sort of faith, having some sort of hope that you can believe in something that's not there. You can believe in the unseen. I think that is what pregnancy has brought me that I've been missing in my 20s. I missed believing in something. Like you said, I think we've been so obsessed with believing in what we can be talked into and shown, like evidence of. But what about the things that we can't see, that can't make sense, that aren't tangible yet, that you want to believe in, that your intuition is telling you that it is important? I think pregnancy for me was the vessel that gave faith back to me in a way, like you said, that doesn't feel the same as what I thought religion and faith was in the past. It's this newfound understanding of life and of what happens, of the energy around life, and what sustains life, and also what comes with life is death, and this cycle of life and death and life and death and life and death and so on and so forth. I think that's one of the most powerful things in pregnancy, and it's just beautiful to hear and to witness your ability to come into that in a new way for yourself and for Avani and for JC. And I'm so interested to know, like, how was JC on that similar path when it came to like spirituality and finding faith once you and Avani, like once you knew Avani was with you guys, or was his spiritual transformation a little different?
That's a really good question, because I haven't even actually thought about it. You know, a lot of this has been in my own head, you know, growing through this on my own.
And personal.
And for me, the religious subject and spirituality came with a lot of trauma from my childhood. Yeah. So I had a lot more disdain towards religion and spirituality over the years than JC did. JC grew up a little bit on the milder side. He grew up Catholic, and, you know, was kind of like more easygoing on that front. So for him, it wasn't like a big deal, yes or no. But we talked a lot about this over the years, and it's interesting because we both abandoned religion together all the way. We went all the way to atheism together. We did all that stuff. You know, we did the Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris, and then felt how dark it all became. We did all that. And then what we found ourselves, JC's spiritual journey has been one of its own, and I don't like to push anything that I go through, because I like to just marinate on it on my own, certain things, and then we come together and we find out we had the same thoughts anyways. That happens a lot. But watching him more about the spiritual aspect is understanding, you know, how are we going to raise our baby? That's been like the biggest thing that comes spiritually into our play when it comes to this entire subject is, okay, we definitely don't want to raise her specifically in a religion just to give her a religion, because we want her to have a compass and we want her to have a purpose, and not go down the atheist path that we have, which was really, really dark unintentionally. But once we were there, we found it. But in the same time, like, how do we do that today how do we raise her today to give her the values that that tradition and religion does bring? Like, how do we build something new? And that has been his biggest thing at the forefront all the time. Okay, how we're going to do this, how we're going to do that. You know, he is
Papa
really
Bear.
at the forefront of how he wants to be a papa. It's like more important to him what he's doing now than even himself. He's like, he is the most selfless, incredible human being I've ever met in my life. Like, I had to convince him, like, just on a side note, convince him last week just to go out on his own and go practice shooting, because he loves that. He loves practicing, and, you know, we do that whole thing too. Yeah. And I had to convince him to take some time for himself, because he just doesn't. You know, he's so selfless and he's been so dedicated, and I had to like almost push him out the house to go do that.
So good. It's so good.
Just so he,
I love that so much.
Just so he can, you know, have some time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's his biggest priority from a spiritual standpoint, is how we're going to raise our baby. And it's like, we have to build something completely new. And that's what we talk about, the spirituality standpoint. Like, how are we going to answer these questions when we ourselves are still confused in so many things, right?
Oh, yeah.
When we have to make sense out of our own past. But, you know, in the same time, I've also seen a massive shift in him, that whole time of our non-belief and thinking that, again, we as human beings are so amazing. If we can't see something with our own eyes, that means it's not real and doesn't exist. Yeah. We have both gotten over that a very, very long time ago. Yeah. We just are still navigating how to fill in the blanks. I think that maybe this is just an assumption that that pregnancy has taken me to a deeper place than a man could ever go, because it's so physical and it's so powerful that it brings you to your knees in such beautiful but powerful ways that you find yourself just like releasing, like, you know, going into labor and feeling those things, and then it's like naturally like just praying in your mind, and you're like, well, like, what am I even doing right now? You know, because you're going through these massive physical things that I think pushes us women in a certain way through the pregnancy more than it can a man. But in the same time, I've watched him just flow with me throughout everything, you know? And that's one of the biggest reasons why we had the naming ceremony for Avani in the forest. That's the reason why we have done those things, because we want to, both of us want to build tradition, spirituality, culture, all of that into our family. But we're still in the phases of trying to figure out what that looks like. And I love that you guys are probably in a very similar situation. And, you know, that's the thing that JC's like, he's actually looking forward to discuss this, the four of us together. Like, how can we come up together with ideas to build a new culture? Yeah. Right? Because there's no way I'm going to live inauthentically, and he doesn't want that either. But he doesn't want it just to be blank. Like, we need to create something new. So I don't know if this is what you were intending on asking me, but like, I gave you like the whole thing.
It's so good. And it's so funny because we literally had a conversation, 2 days ago, talking about church. And he grew up going to church very consistently, Philip. And religion was a really huge part of his upbringing. And it was in his adult life, he also has dabbled in so much philosophy and so much science. He loves physics. He's dabbled in so many things that has given him, you know, really great perspective that's allowed him to kind of form his own, you know, ideas of the world, where he doesn't feel like he needs to entirely rely on religion the way that, you know, his parents may have, or the way that he was brought up to think that faith was there for. So he's created his own system that I think is really, really beautiful and very deep and profound. And again, it's kind of hard to explain what that is, because there's not a
there's no word for it.
Yeah, there's no word for it. Yeah, it's a thing. It is a belief, but it's also this like ever evolving belief, because it's not always looking the same. Yeah. Which also, that's what feels different than religion, or at least that religion. You know, he was also Catholic growing up, But we were talking about how
JC and him and I have a lot to talk about.
So much. He was talking about how important church was for him as a kid, because not only did he learn discipline there, but he did learn how much he loved prayer and how personal it felt to him. Even though, you know, he was kind of getting dragged there as a kid and feeling like, you know, you're just kind of there for your parents. The reason it was so important, it was important because his parents believed in it so much themselves that it felt really important for him to be there. So he was like, as much as I want to say, oh, let's take our kid to church, he's like, that's not us. We don't go to church. We don't practice.
Like, it would be inauthentic.
It would be inauthentic, and it wouldn't be fair to our kid, because he's going to know. He's going to be like, these guys don't want to be here either.
You're full of it.
Yeah, these guys are full of shit. They don't want to be here. They don't know what's going on. They could care less. They're just here for me. He's like, the reason it was so important is because my parents believed in it, and they needed it, and it was important to them, and it was truly a value system that helped them process their own uncertainties and chaos of life. And so he's like, whatever that is for us, not saying that we won't go to church or take our kid to church if we find the right community and you know, the right regimen that feels like, oh, this feels really genuine.
Yeah, it's not like we both hate on church. We don't hate on it.
We're actually looking for it. We're looking for some sort of ritual and thing to believe in that our kid can follow. And it makes so much, religion is so important because it gives you something to follow when you have nowhere to freaking go. And I actually think so much of our generation is actually missing faith, and we're missing the thing to believe in, especially in this phase of our life where we get older and things get more confusing and the world gets more complex, and we don't know where to put our beliefs, like you said. And that's just something that, you know, we were literally talking about the other day, where we're like, oh yeah, maybe we'll go to church,
funny.
And then immediately,
we're always parallel.
I know, and then immediately after we're like, yeah, but then it wouldn't be genuine, and so we need to figure out, you know, some sort of way, some sort of system where we can offer our child a place of belief and a place to practice prayer and faith and believing in the unseen. And having some moral compass, because that helped Philip so much in so many ways that he's so aware of. And I didn't have that kind of discipline.
It's the humility too, right?
Yeah, 100%.
It's like the humility. It's like the humility that just because we don't know something or we can't see something, it doesn't mean that we know everything. Yeah. The humility to know that we don't know. And to have a moral compass associated with that, right? It is so powerful. And, you know, kind of goes back to the essence of this podcast, is that we have to stop throwing out the baby with the bathwater. You know, we have to look back and look at what we had that was so good. We don't have to keep all of it. It's not important. There's a lot of things that were added to religion that's actually harmful. And there's things that got added, like, you know, law on top of law kind of thing over the years. But that doesn't mean that we're better off not having some kind of a compass.
Entirely.
That we should be
it's
without.
It's actually very clear that it's not, that it's actually dangerous for ourselves. Like, all of us are... Or we're not doing good. You know, there's a lot of things that are not going well, and I do, like, there's a part of me that attributes to the lack of faith and belief in the unseen. Yeah.
But you didn't grow up that way like Philip did, though, right?
No, not a lot of, because I really do think that religion instills an important amount of discipline into somebody's life. Again, this moral compass of, like, good and bad that is very... Again, there's no nuance there. So as an adult, you're starting to be like, you want to fill the gaps. You're like, nothing is just good and nothing is just bad. Yeah, exactly. As a kid, I was kind of, I didn't have that easy of a black and white look at the world. So it got me into trouble. And I didn't have a lot of discipline. And I actually wish that, I mean, not that I wish that it was any different, but because I think I met somebody where we filled each other's gaps in a really nice way, where, like, again, he's instilled this, like, really beautiful, profound discipline into our life, and I've created this, like, I've inspired spontaneity in some really cool ways. But believing in something as a child just feels important. Just having something to believe in.
Having hope and faith.
Yeah. And just, you know, having clarity over, this is something I should do, this is something I should not do. Obviously, life is a lot more complex than that, but as a child, it's not yet. So being able to simplify life in those terms... But
there's definitely certain truth, though. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, there are. And for your household, I think...
There are certain truths that we can't get past, yeah.
Yeah, and I think in your household, too, you're making those truths for them. And if you don't, it can be very confusing on where to put yourself and how to even commit. We've talked about commitment in other episodes. I think discipline and religion also instills this incredible ability to deeply commit yourself to something, whether that's a person, an idea, a purpose, a vision, a creation. And I think that's so important for somebody. I think our lack of commitment is what keeps us so unfulfilled in our life. And without religion, we're not always really practicing that. We can kind of get away with not committing ourselves and being able to ghost and just, you know, get away with not fulfilling certain things that we say that we're going to. So we're in the same, we're in the same process.
That's crazy.
We're
definitely gonna have to fireside this whole talk, whole conversation together.
Trying to preserve the beauty of what faith did for our families, and allowing our future baby to have that opportunity to believe in something like that and have some moral compass that makes life feel a little bit less confusing, while giving him the freedom to question and explore and be curious with us as we're learning what we also need.
Because we're all still learning too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Wow. Yeah. I love that. It's so interesting because we haven't even touched this part of,
we haven't talked about this.
Of our truths together. And it's like, this is happening live now. And it's so cool that even that is so parallel. But I do have to add one thing though, that when I held Avani for the first time in my arms, like actually holding her, I was really humbled to understand. And it wasn't even me trying it. This just like came to me that I didn't just do this. This is not just me. She was born so perfect and beautiful and healthy and aware and everything. It's like I sat there and I'm like just full of gratitude, you know, full of gratitude spiritually to my ancestors, to everything, to JC as her papa. And it was so much bigger than me that brought me again to like the place where I would have not allowed myself to go if I hadn't been pregnant or, you know, become a mama. Wow. And these things just like
so beautiful.
It brings you to your knees when you experience it, and you know that it's bigger than just yourself.
Yeah, you're like, I can't take credit for this entirely. There's something bigger at play here. That's so beautiful.
Like, I couldn't have designed these perfect little eyes and her little feet and the way she's looking at me. Her knowing to how she behaved right after birth, you know, how she understood where my breasts were to come get her milk. Like, it's incredibly profound. And it's like it's not just a clump of cells. It's not just some things that you can recreate in a lab. That is something way bigger at play. And it's really humbling, especially if you come from a place where you have said the opposite in the past. Yeah. So it's really amazing. I love that all four of us are on this spiritual journey together. And I can't wait to actually talk about this in person.
Yeah, likewise.
I love that.
Me too.
Do you want to take this show on the go with you? Whether you're relaxing at home or you're on the go, you can take the Modern Matriarch podcast wherever you are. Find us on all major platforms like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else. Just search for Modern Matriarch and join us anytime and anywhere. Thank you for tuning in, and listening to the Modern Matriarch podcast. Since you made it all the way to the end, I'd love to invite you to visit themodernmatriarch.co. This is where we're creating helpful and inspiring resources to help you along this incredible journey. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love for you to subscribe to this podcast and leave us a like and a comment below this episode. Your support helps us reach more incredible women, brings more amazing guests to the show, and also helps us deliver fresh and inspiring content to you. We'll see you next time on the Modern Matriarch podcast.